Good evening, Victory Tribe, and welcome to Victory Now. All right, guys, I am really excited for tonight. My name is Michelle Roepke, and I'm going to be your host tonight, and we are going to go over some things in a really quick period of time, but man, this is so good because God has helped me with this, what we're going to go over tonight many times. And I'm sure in my days to come, it'll still be something that he works with me on. So what I want to speak with you about tonight is stirring up the things that are already on the inside of you. And we are going to start in 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 5 through 7. And this is the second letter to Timothy by Paul. And just a little short insight to this. Timothy was a young pastor at a very large church in Ephesus. And at that time, the church was facing a lot of fire. They were being put in prison. They were being burned. A lot of bad things were happening to these new believers. And so this is where Timothy is at this time that Paul is writing him this letter. He's in a really downhearted place. And Paul at this time as well, he is in prison, but he is going to encourage Timothy. And so we're going to read, this is just where this is starting at. And we're going to read just a few verses here, what Paul is telling Timothy. He says, "When I call to remembrance the genuine faith that is in you, which dwelt first in your grandmother Lois and your mother Eunice, and I am persuaded is in you also. Therefore, I remind you to stir up the gift of God, which is in you through the laying on of my hands. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and a sound mind." Paul had to remind Timothy, remember, Timothy, where you started. Remember what was in your grandma. Remember what was in your mom. Remember when you saw them on their knees praying in times where they didn't know if they were going to get through. But remember, Timothy, what was in them is also in you. And also Paul tells him that to remember the time when Paul was with him and laid his hands on him and imparted gifts to him. And so tonight, what I really want to encourage you is to stir up those things. Like Paul's telling Timothy, stir up that what is on the inside of you. And if you're a born again believer, then you already have a lot of gifts flowing on the inside of you. And there are times though that we can let those things settle because life comes, circumstances come, and they can start weighing us down. They can start pushing all those good things, just cramming them down to where sometimes we forget that they're even in there. And so Paul is telling Timothy, stir up those gifts. When you get in places where circumstances are just beating you up one after another, remember to stir up those things that are inside of you. So maybe you are in that place, where things are going on and you don't even really remember what's on the inside of you. So I want to take you over to Galatians, and I'm going to read some things that are already on the inside of you. Let's go here real quick. Galatians chapter 5, verse 22-23. "But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, kindness, gentleness, faithfulness, self-control. Against such there is no law." These are all fruits of the Holy Spirit. These things are in your born-again spirit 24/7. There was one particular morning I woke up, and it was one of those mornings to where that saying goes, they woke up on the wrong side of the bed. That was my morning. I was by myself. There was nobody there. There was no circumstances going on, but I woke up in a horrible mood, had a horrible attitude, and the Lord just starts nudging me. Why? What are we doing? What's going on? And I'm like, I don't know. I just don't feel happy, and if I don't feel happy, then I can't be happy. I can't live happy because I don't feel happy. And so the Holy Spirit just said, remember Galatians 5:22-23. And so I went to those verses and I started reading them. I'm like, okay, so I see that, these are there, but they are not inside of me because I don't feel them. But the Holy Spirit said, in your spirit, there is joy always. Joy never leaves you. Peace never leaves you. Love never leaves you. It's your choice, though, whether you will live in this or if you will go by your feelings. And so that day, the Lord taught me that no matter how I wake up feeling or no matter what comes against me, that these fruits live in my born again spirit, and there is nothing that can take those things away from me. No circumstance can take my joy, cannot take my love, cannot take my peace. Nothing can take these away from me because they are gifts that God has given to me as His child. And so another thing, one of the biggest things that I want us to look at on what's already inside of us is found in Colossians. Let's see here. I got it marked. Colossians chapter 1. I'm going to have to flip this over for us. Verse 27. Okay. Says, to them, God willed to make known what are the riches of the glory of this mystery among the Gentiles, which is Christ in you, the hope of glory. And I want to highlight that, in you, Christ in you. So if you this is awesome. If you meditate on Christ being on the inside of you, and you think back, just like Paul reminded Timothy, think back about what Christ accomplished. Think back about what Jesus did. Okay, there was this girl one time, an awesome friend of mine, and she was in a hard place, okay? And forgiveness was so far away. Something had happened. Forgiveness was miles and miles and miles out of her vision. She couldn't see forgiveness. But I started reminding her, look back at Jesus. What did Jesus do when He was on the cross? In every day that things came against Him, what did Jesus do? He was able to forgive. So if He's able to forgive, then I showed her, you are able to forgive, because now that you're a born again believer, you have Christ inside of you. He lives within you. So anything that was possible for Him is now possible for you because He's inside of you. And so stirring that up, remembering, going back through the scriptures, seeing where Jesus walked through earth in His life, all the things that He was able to accomplish. He overcame death. He overcame sickness. He laid His hands on the sick and they recovered. If He can do those things, that is what's on the inside of you, because He's on the inside of you. And He raised the dead. He cast out demons. If He can do those things, then we born again believers can do those things, because this verse says that it is Christ in us. And so really just coming to that place to where you're stirring up those gifts and not letting the weight of the world or just your day weighing you down. The opposite, in my own mind, I think the opposite of weighted down is fluffy. We want to be fluffy throughout our day. We want to be in freedom rather than bondage from doubt and worry and stress. We want to be free in our day, because when we're free, then we get to go out and deliver this great gospel to the world around us. And I just want to take a quick minute and show you something. And as I was doing this lesson, this is how the Lord showed me. And I had this water bottle set next to me. I love to put those little orange crush inserts inside of my water. It makes it so much better. I can drink way more water and I can drink it way quicker when I flavor it. So when I was sitting here thinking about this, hopefully you could see this, I just dumped the packet in it. And this water is exposed to the packet, but I didn't shake it up. And so if I was to go ahead and drink this water, it's not going to be to the full extent of what it could be if I was to shake it up. Because you see most of the ingredients is at the bottom of this. It's not shook up. They've all settled down to the bottom. And so when I drink this, it's just going to be a light flavor of orange. But if I shake this up, I shake it up real good and get it all stirred up. Then when I take a drink of it, it's to the full extent. And so our lives, how I just wanted to use that is that when we're not stirred up, those great gifts on the inside of us can get settled to the bottom. And when we go out into the world, we're exposing what Jesus is in us, just small amounts. But when we're stirred up and we're stirring all those gifts up that God's put within us, then when we go out to the world, man, we're given the full amount of Jesus, every area that we go into. So I just want to encourage you. A lot of times what I do is I get gospel music. I get my Alexa on. I turn my gospel music on and I blast it all throughout my house. And that starts stirring me up. I get in my word and I could be in the worst mood and get in this word. And within seconds, my whole attitude is changing. I'm getting revelation from God. When I come to church and I get around like-minded people, I'm getting stirred up. They're challenging me to see farther and deeper into what God's called me into. And that keeps me stirred up. Listening to Pastor, Sunday mornings, Wednesdays, and all throughout the week, that keeps me stirred up and keeps my vision straight forward. And so that even when things do come against me, you know what? Christ is already in front of me. I'm already seeing Christ. I'm already partaking of all the promises that God has for me. And so I just want to bless you. And I want to just speak a blessing over you that every gift that is on the inside of you is being stirred up, that you are encouraged to be the Christian that God has called you to be in this time, in this hour. Stay in the Word. Stay keeping yourself stirred up. I hope you have a great evening.